The hunting grounds of Theta 7 were never meant to host humans. The planet belonged to the Vakari, apex predators who had dominated three-star systems through sheer ferocity and an unbreakable pack hierarchy. Their claws could tear through durasteel, their reflexes operated on timescales humans could barely perceive, and their concept of mercy was as foreign to them as fear. Elena Ward knew all of this as she stumbled through the crimson forest, her environmental suit torn, her oxygen reserves dropping into critical levels. The diplomatic mission had gone catastrophically wrong. What was supposed to be humanity's first peaceful contact with the Vakari had dissolved into chaos when a rival pack attacked the meeting site. In the confusion, Elena had run, not away from danger, but toward the sound of terrified whimpering she'd heard echoing through the trees. She found Craven Softclaw trapped beneath a fallen tree, his silver-furred body pinned, blood matting his juvenile coat. The cub couldn't have been more than 6 cycles old, a child by any species measure. His golden eyes were wide with pain and terror, his small claws scratching uselessly at the bark that imprisoned him. Elena's translator crackled with static, barely functional. Through the distortion, she caught fragments of the cub's desperate cries. "Hurts! Pack mother! Please!" Any sane person would have kept running. The Vakari had made their position on humans clear. They were weak, soft-skinned prey species with delusions of grandeur. They had no place among predators. Elena had sat through the briefings, had seen the footage of Vakari hunts, had listened to xenobiologists explain that their brain chemistry literally prevented them from feeling empathy for other species. But Elena had also been a trauma medic before she became a diplomat. And before that, she'd been a child who couldn't walk past a wounded animal without stopping to help. She dropped to her knees beside Craven, her hands already assessing the injury. The tree was too heavy to lift, but she could dig. She tore at the soil with her bare hands, her suit's gloves shredding, her fingers bleeding. Craven watched her with confusion, his predatory instincts warring with his pain. His growls softened into uncertain chirps. "It's okay," Elena whispered, knowing he couldn't understand her words but hoping her tone conveyed something. "I've got you. You're going to be okay." She worked frantically, creating a gap large enough to pull him through. When she finally dragged him free, Craven's leg was badly injured, possibly broken. He tried to stand and collapsed, crying out in a pitch that made Elena's heart clench. That's when she heard them. The pack. The thunderous footfalls of adult Vakari moving through the forest, converging on their location. Elena looked down at Craven and made a choice. She gathered the cub into her arms, wrapping him carefully against her chest, and pressed her lips to his forehead in a gesture older than civilization itself. "You're safe now," she murmured against his fur. "I promise." Craven went still, his breathing steadying. Something in Elena's scent, in her heartbeat, in the deliberate gentleness of her touch, penetrated the barriers his species had built. He made a sound, not a growl, not a cry, but something softer, something trusting. The pack burst into the clearing like a storm-given form. 7 adult Vakari, each standing over 2 meters tall, their bodies rippling with muscle, their claws extended. At their head was the pack mother, her scarred hide testament to 100 battles. She was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure, and her eyes locked onto Elena with predatory focus. Elena didn't run. She couldn't. Craven was injured, and every instinct she possessed screamed that if she showed fear now, they would both die. So instead, she did something no human had ever done in Vakari presence. She bared her throat. It was a gesture she'd learned from the xenobiology files. A submission display so profound that it was never used lightly even among the Vakari themselves. To bare one's throat was to place absolute trust in another's mercy. For a prey species to offer it to a predator was incomprehensible. The pack mother's advance halted. Her pack flanked her, weapons raised, but she raised one clawed hand, and they froze. She approached Elena slowly, her massive frame casting Elena in shadow. The human could smell the musk of her, could feel the heat radiating from her body. Craven stirred in Elena's arms, making that soft sound again, and the pack mother's eyes widened. She looked at Elena, really looked at her, at the human's torn hands, still bleeding from digging in the earth, at the careful way she cradled Craven, at the kiss mark on her cub's forehead, still damp from Elena's lips, at the human's exposed throat, vulnerable and trusting. The pack mother's translator crackled to life. Her voice was like gravel and thunder. "You saved my son." Elena nodded slowly, not breaking eye contact. "He needed help." "You are prey," the pack mother said, but there was confusion in her tone now, not contempt. "You should have fled. Your species does not fight, does not protect. You take no risks for those not your own." "You're wrong," Elena said softly. Craven shifted in her arms, pressing closer to her warmth. "We protect those who need protecting, even when it's dangerous, even when it makes no sense. That's what makes us human." The silence stretched. Then slowly, deliberately, the pack mother lowered her weapon. One by one, the rest of the pack followed suit. It was unprecedented. It was impossible, but it was happening. The pack mother reached out, and Elena carefully transferred Craven into her massive arms. The cub whimpered, reaching back toward Elena, and something shifted in the pack mother's expression. Something that might have been recognition or respect, or the birth of understanding between two species that should have been eternal enemies. "Your people will leave Theta 7, the pack mother said, "but you, Elena Ward, are pack friend. You will be remembered. And when next we meet humans in the stars, we will remember the one who kissed the forehead of a downed cub." Elena nodded, her legs trembling with delayed shock. The pack mother turned to leave, then paused. "Your species is weak in body," she said, "but your spirit, that is the strength of alphas." As the Vakari disappeared into the forest, Elena collapsed to her knees, shaking. She had just rewritten 100 years of xenodiplomacy with a single act of compassion. Humanity, it turned out, had its own way of conquering the stars.